let's move into API risk. This is a busy page, like everything else you may be thinking. API risk is a formula. Is a formula that is using impact and probability. Probability of your API being hacked versus the impact it will have if it gets hacked. Okay, that's what impact and probability means. The way you calculate impact and probability is by performing a summation. That Greek sigma letter is a summation of the parameter score times the parameter weight over the summation of the parameter weight. The parameter weight, depending what it is selected, you can actually see the parameter weight across all parameters: critical, high, low, and ignore, medium and low, and ignore. Please do not think for a second that this parameter weight has any bearing to the severity. These are two different things. I wish we had find something different to indicate. Maybe just use the colors: red, high, red, deep red, light red. I don't know, I'm colorblind. So I wish they were different, but they're not. Okay, so these are the different parameters, and you have two tabs, right? You have two tabs. You're given the formula, you're given the impact section, and the probability. We can start with the probability, and you can see all the different parameters. Here's the one parameter, here's the second. There's three more under access, one under usage, manage, security controls, and so on. Okay, and if you expand any one of these, for example, if I expand the open findings, right? Now you're given the parameter weight, critical, and you're given the parameter scored based upon whether you have open findings for that API, right? That relate to that API. If you have critical findings, then you're going to get the value of 10, right? 10, that's the parameter value, times the weight. What's the weight? 5, right? And so on. Over the summation of all parameter weights. That's what that means. Okay, and that gives you access to the probability and impact. And impact is very similar, right? Impact is very similar. You also have parameters, and if you expand it, you will see, do I have any sensitive data types in the APIs, right? Sensitive data type the API returns. Do I have any sensitive data types in the responses, in other words, right? Parameter weight, critical. And then if depending how many you have, right? None, zero, of course. The calculation is going to end up being zero, right? So it doesn't add anything to your risk. One sensitive data type, well, now the parameter score is 7. Two or more, 10, and so on. Unknown, we have no body to analyze or anything. You get something in here because we don't see anything, right? It's unavailable to us. That's why you have a value right here. The other thing I didn't explain yet is this distribution of sensitive data types that API returns. So you always have this distribution. You are being told how many of your APIs are returning no sensitive data types. In our case, it's great because none of our APIs return sensitive. One sensitive, two unknown, and so on. So you see a distribution, right? If I go to the sensitive data type the API receives, there you go. The API receives, right? This is returns in the response. It receives. Now we do have something extra, right? We do have something extra. We have one API that receives one sensitive data type, and we have one API that receives two or more sensitive data types, and they have the corresponding score. Okay? This, what you see right here, is the actual configuration. You can come in here and change it to fit your needs. The default configuration that you see right now is the one that we, by we I mean no name security researchers, have determined to be the best fit for most use cases. Okay, for most use cases. This may not fit your use case. You may have to come here and massage those settings. Okay, maybe you do not care for the unknown. Maybe you would like to set this to 0. Right, so I can go ahead and set it to 0. And I can see live online what happens, right? What will be the API risk? When I change values, I can come in here and see what is the API risk distribution across all my APIs. And you have from 0 to 9 all the way to 9 to 10. Okay? And you can see how your API distribution adjusts. Or if you do not want to save this whole thing, you can reset it, right? Reset. And you go back. Are you sure you want to update the parameter weights and scores to the default system? Yes, save. It's a question and we're asked to save, right? So I don't know. Looks a bit weird. And if you pay attention, 6, 6, right? It should be yes or no, more likely. I'll open a Jira. So that's your API risk configuration. Now, how does that translate? Well, if I take you back to the inventory, if I take you back under APIs, we should be able to see the risk, right? The risk right here. Okay, so that's how it translates. And only when you open one of these, you will see the impact values and you see the probability values that apply specifically to this API. So the data exposure, 3.8. The operation sensitivity, 5. For all the other impact parameters, the score is 0. That's why you don't see them right here. The probability, do we have findings? Yes, we do. And the score is 7, 8, 6.7, 5, 5. So you go inside a specific API and you're going to see the value specifically for the API. You go under settings and API risk and you're going to see the configuration. The configuration. That's what you will see. And of course, you're going to see the calculation, right? What the formula looks like. Calculate impact probability, sum all the parameter scores by the individual parameter weight, and then sum over the summation of individual parameter weights. And that gives you the impact probability. And the risk is impact time probability square root. Okay? That's the formula. And again, that's beyond my level of understanding. I know the calculation and I know that all these are important. I do not know how we arrived on this formula. We have researchers. That's all they do pretty much, right? API researchers and data scientists in particular that calculate that information. That, my good people, is the API risk. And with this, we concluded our section.